What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today we're here to talk about the medal exchange. So of course this is always an exciting time of the month. Whenever a new month comes out, we get to talk about what new characters you can pick up, pseudo for free, as long as you've been, keeping and hoarding those Sugo medals. And I know that, we're heading into a period now where there's going to be lots of Sugo-Fest coming forward as we head towards the New Year's Sugo-Fest. And I know that a lot of people are going to be doing pulls on the New Year's Sugo-Fest. No matter what the character is, it's going to be a powerful character or characters. So I think that this is an interesting one because people can decide whether they want to use those Sugo medals for these new characters, or they want to go ahead and save them for potentially in January 2023. But either way you look at it, this is the final Sugo medal exchange of 2022, which is just crazy to think about. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So we're going to start from the bottom and work our way to the top. So the first thing here is the introduction of World Journey characters. Once again, we have Marco and we have Ace this time. Both of these characters are very, very good. I have both of these characters already, so I will not be purchasing them. But they essentially have special abilities that boost Free Spirit and Powerhouse characters, and they just, they work over multiple different turns. Or one's an attack boost, one's an ult boost. They essentially mirror each other. They don't really have much utility, so these are characters that are kind of like just collector's purposes, unlike last month when we had the Rebecca and also the Vivi, which were characters that you could use, like probably outside of their release content, because they had some pretty interesting utility effects or just unique boosts. So I think with all that being said, the World Journey characters this time around are not very good. Moving a little up from that, we have the powerful support effect characters. Now, kind of similar to the World Journey is the fact that these characters look to be reappearing every single month, so I don't think it's that big of a stress to use your Sugo medals for characters such as these that are essentially pullable on every single Sugo-Fest, like moving forward. So I don't think it's a wise decision to, use your medals and characters that are relatively easy to get from the Sugo-Fest. But look, if there is one particular support that you don't have and you need it for a quest, at that point, yeah, you should go out and get it, because it is like all these characters have somewhat useful support effects, but they're not support effects that you're going to use all the time. Definitely, Kanjuro, Sanji, Raizo, those three are very good. Lafitte has been useful recently with lots of Blackbeard characters, of course. Whitey Bay definitely has her uses. I know that Whitey Bay's definitely seen some play in Grand Voyages, so it is up to you at the end of the day. Moving forward, because this is obviously December, we have some holiday or Christmas time characters. We've got Rayleigh, who, look, all these characters, they're bad. You're not going to be using them in content. Like healing 15 times recovery and a 1.5 orb boost. You've got Law here, the Christmas Law, changes the captain slot to recovery, heals 15 times recovery, again pretty bad. We've got Bonnie here, changes neighboring slots, or I guess that's adjacent slots, into recovery, and then a Psy recovery boost, pretty terrible. And then you have the Christmas holiday time Toadskii, reducing special bind by 1 and heals 240 HP. Yeah, it's just not good. So I would say only pick up these characters if you have a lot of excess medals and you want some collector's items, because these characters are probably not going to be back for like probably another year, right? So if you want to collect them, go for it, but you're not going to need them for content. The treasure map rare recruits are always interesting to see what they bring back, and unfortunately they have kind of leaned into that holiday theming with these characters, Chopper, Robin, and also Cat Viper. I've definitely used Cat Viper a couple of times, removing Bind and Despair by 3. He also gives -1 cooldown for Powerhouse, Fighter, and Striker characters, and he also does provide a bit of healing. He does have the crewmate ability to resist 1 turn of special reverse, so this guy has seen some niche usages, but he's not amazing. We have the Robin here. If you have 4 more characters with quick, int, or strength slots, greatly boosts the color affinity of your Fighter and Cerebrals by, I think it's 1.75 for 1 turn. And then you have the Chopper character, which reduces special bind by 2, changes adjacent slots to matching, Fighter / Striker 1.75 attack boost, and then, but that's only based on navigation levels, so yeah, okay, you don't really need to worry about that. He's just removing 2 turns of special bind and also adjacent slots matching. Yeah, this character's not that good. I think all of the treasure map rare recruits this time around are pretty underwhelming. But now we get to talk about some exciting stuff with the actual Sugo-Fest exclusives. So the 150 medal tier, where you can purchase 3 of each of these characters, we have the Striker Lore character. Remember that this character recently received level limit break, and both his 6-star and his 6-star plus have differing forms of level limit break. So if you need to go ahead and max any of these characters out, then this is definitely a wise purchase. However, I want to bring your attention to V2 Fujitora. He also is available for 150 medals, and this character is going to be very useful for Grand Voyage versus Mihawk. He's one of the most essential characters for that quest, as on Battle 3, or Battle 4 should I say, you can use his special ability with level limit break, mind you, and his super evolution to get the 3 turns of a 3.5 chain lock, which you can carry into the final room. And also with the recent update to Grand Voyage, they have said that the Mihawk fight, he actually wouldn't trigger on the last stage, so you're not allowed to use chain locks on the last stage now. He actually will interrupt that. So in order to get around it, you need a chain lock that you use in the previous stage that you carry into the final stage, and V2 Fujitora is one of those characters that can do that. So honestly, it's up to you. If you're really close to getting Fujitora at max level limit break, potentially doing that to assist you in your Grand Voyage efforts is potentially a really good idea. The next tier we have above, the 250 medal tier for 2 copies each, we have Capone, which is an interesting selection. He doesn't have a level limit break currently, but I think that he is an interesting character that with a level limit break could definitely become a very useful character in the game. With his super evolution, he does focus on boosting both driven and shooter characters, and we know how shooters have been receiving some pretty good buffs recently. If this character ever got a level limit break, it actually could be pretty crazy in terms of what he's able to do. Plus his King Father effect is kind of interesting. But if we're just looking at how usable this character is, or how often are people using this character, he's essentially not seeing any play. But I think this is another interesting choice, the fact that V2 Zora is also selectable from the Sugo Medal Exchange for the month of December. As we just touched upon recently with Fujitora, this guy also got level limit break and is one of the most desirable characters to use in the Grand Voyage versus Mihawk. So if your Zora is really close to max level limit break, potentially picking up a couple of copies to get him maxed out might help you out a lot in terms of getting through that Grand Voyage. But once again, it is up to you. I don't think I would waste my medals on a character such as this. But again, if you're really close to getting that Grand Voyage done, it is definitely tempting. And then finally we get to the good stuff, the 400 medal tiers where you can only purchase 1 of each copy. The first one being V2, Vivi, and Rebecca. Unfortunately, this character wasn't really that loved on release. There was definitely some cool cases where you could use it for some, unique abilities, with the fact that he gets rid of bind and special bind by 6, and then their switch ability completely removes their own special bind. So no matter what, this character will be able to remove 6 turns of special bind, as well as removing regular bind as well, and then a 2x attack and all boost to Cerebral and Striker characters. It's an interesting special, but unfortunately doesn't see a lot of play. This character really wasn't the best on release in terms of the multipliers that it gives you, because it almost feels like they didn't know what they wanted to do with the character. They wanted to give boosts, but then the utility is just okay. There haven't been a lot of cases where you need to use this character just for their utility. Plus, if you do use it, a 2x attack and orb boost, while it is fine, if you're actually trying to beat more modern content, 2x attack and orb boost in a lot of cases isn't going to be that useful. So unfortunately, with that level limit break or a super evolution, this character is probably not going to be super usable. So the next character here is Shirahoshi and Mancherry V2. Now, a little bit of the opposite end of the spectrum from Vivi and Rebecca V2. This character on release was amazing and still is very good. Special ability that completely removes poison, paralysis, recovery down, and blindness, and then 7-turn removal of burn and despair. You get a full board of rainbow slots, you get a 1.2 chain addition boost, and 50 times this character's recovery as healing. And of course, this character introduces a really interesting switch ability that allows you to gain the overheal mechanic. So if you switch before launching their special, you get 50 times their recovery that can overheal. And the fact that this character is Striker and Cerebral They have great synergy with lots of the more powerful Sugo-Fest exclusives in the game. So I think it's almost a no-brainer that if you don't own a copy of this character, you should definitely pick one up at a bare minimum. This character is amazing. So the second last character that we're going to be talking about here is Legend Ulti Page 1, yet another dual unit. This is an interesting choice here. Obviously, we have the new edition of Legend Page 1 coming into the game with the free-to-play ulti that we currently have on Extra Island. This is kind of odd. I probably wouldn't advise you guys to pick this character up. This character really hasn't seen a ton of play. A lot of cases where this character has been used is in Super Boss Kizunas for a couple of different situations. This character is still okay though, where the special does, a lot of non-type damage to all enemies. You get a full board of matching slots, which is still pretty good. This really unique ability to completely remove the crew's target lock status, which unfortunately hasn't been a super important debuff to get around. And then if your captain is driven or powerhouse, you get a guaranteed 2.25 times conditional boost if the enemy has 10 million HP or more. So there definitely were a lot of situations where you could use this character with a driven or a powerhouse captain to gain a guaranteed conditional on marked enemies, which is an affliction to the enemy that bypasses immunity, which is pretty cool because it's technically not a debuff, you're just marking the enemy as a certain status. So it is interesting. But as long as the enemy has 10 million HP or more and you have a driven powerhouse captain, driven or powerhouse captain that is, then yeah, you can get that guaranteed conditional, which is pretty powerful. Full border slots, damage dealing special. There's not a lot wrong with this character. But the issue is that if you're running a powerhouse team or a driven team, specifically powerhouse though, a lot of the time if you're using hybrid Kaido, for example, he's definitely more desirable to be using in Kizuna. And even in situations where Kaido doesn't get cooldown, you can still stall for his special ability and get the most out of it that way. So in a lot of cases, this character really isn't that useful anymore. They still have a really powerful switch effect, and they also do have a super switch, which is nice. Their super switch is incredible though, allowing you to completely remove their own paralysis. They get a matching slot, but more importantly, they get the 2.5 chain boundary, which of course you can stack with a bunch of other specials to get lots out of that. So the character is okay, but I think that this character overall is just power crept. And then the final character on the Sugo Medal Exchange is my man Frankie Tanky, the V2 Frankie that came out a little earlier this year. I was pretty shocked when I saw this on the list because this character's not that old, looking back at it. So it is kind of surprising that we get this character straight off the cuff. This character is very good still. The captain ability is still really good for the fact that depending on which version of Frankie you're in, you get different utility. So you have one of them, this one here, the Psy version getting rid of 10 turns of attack down, and then you have the Dex version getting around 10 turns of burn. I believe this is the only captain in the game that can remove burn. I might be mistaken there, but that's incredible. And then of course in their dual form, they remove 10 turns of both. And their attack multipliers are still pretty decent as a captain, so depending on the content you're going up against, this is definitely usable. And then they've got a really interesting special that provides a bit of healing. They also remove poison, and then they give an attack boost to fighter / shooter striker, and then they give an orb boost to free spirit, cerebral driven, and powerhouse characters. So it's kind of interesting where if you build a team where you have, both of the classes on one character, you get both of those boosts. And then obviously you have their switch effect, which enables you to get a 1.5 color affinity. They remove despair on themselves, so if you're using them as a captain, you can get around despair mechanics, which is cool. And they also allow healing when you move on to the next stage. And then they also have their super switch, which is a 2 times color affinity. So you can have this character with their 2 times color affinity super switch, and then a 2.5 attack and all boost to the crew with one character. It's pretty strong. Unfortunately, this character doesn't really see too much play. It was very good against Arena Hawkins. So if you haven't beaten Arena Hawkins, this character absolutely destroys it. Also, if you haven't beaten the Grand Voyage versus Kuro, you need to build a Dex shooter team. This is definitely one of the best characters to be using for that. Helps a lot. This, Yamato and Ace, those two characters build a really good hybrid team in order to get around the content. So if you guys are looking for a really cool piece to clear that content, then Frankie Tanky is going to be your guy. So quick summary, the world journeys and these support characters, these ones are always going to be here, so I don't think it's too stressful just to leave them like where they are. Just pick them up as you need them. Then you've obviously got the special characters and the treasure map characters. These characters are really bad this month, unfortunately. And then you got these characters here, which I think you should only pick up as you need them to clear the Grand Voyage. That's the way that I see it. But in terms of which is the best overall character, I think V2 Shirahoshi Mancherry is the most value for what you're spending. 400 medals for that character, especially if you don't have them, is super valuable. But I also think Frankie Tanky is pretty strong as well, being a more modern legend, modern multipliers, and you can use him in some really interesting ways to clear content. But that is going to wrap up the medal exchange information for the month of December, and very, very much looking forward to how they're going to start off the year in 2023 in January with the next medal exchange. But that is going to wrap it up for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.